Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to show you some proportions today. So the first step, kind of before you get too many of the proportions, is you just want to kind of get the overall shape of the head in, just the silhouette. This is just graphite, just a number 2 pencil, just a mechanical pencil. And this is just a bristle board, Strathmore. This is the vellum. So now that I got the basic head shape in, I might just make it a little bit deeper. So now that we got that, you can just kind of block in the hair. That's what I like to do before we get into the proportions. Proportions are like really important, and we all kind of know what they are, but you need a step-by-step process, like you need a procedure. So the first step that you're gonna do is you're gonna look at the reference and you measure from the tear duct of the eye, just pick one, the tear duct, to the bottom of the chin. You take that measurement and then you put the bottom now on the tear duct and then look at where it comes up to. For me, it looks like it's coming to about here. And another important guideline is the center line of the face. You just try to guess kind of the bottom of the chin, like the center of that, the center, like right in between the eyes, all the way up to the middle of the forehead. So then I'm gonna guess the halfway point, because that's what we found with that measurement. I'm gonna guess it, and then I'm gonna check it. Just like this. And then you hold it, you move it up, and I got kind of close. Just super close, just a little bit off, maybe just like here. Super close. Next thing, you want to draw a horizontal line off that, but you want to follow the axis of the drawing just a little bit higher than horizontal, so it's like this. So the next thing that I want to measure is the brow line. The brow line isn't always just the top of the brows. Sometimes it is, but in this, a lot of times I don't really think it is. On her, it's going to be because her brows are kind of flat, like the shape to them, especially with this facial expression, it's kind of like relaxed. So they're a little flatter. So you're just going to kind of just eyeball it and try to guess how much higher they are than the tear ducts. I'm guessing about here. And what can help you is to also measure the distance from here. So it's kind of just the overall height of her forehead. You can use that to help you. So you're measuring this distance and also this. You're kind of just eyeballing those and just guessing. The next one is to measure the distance. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to measure the distance from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin. Put that distance on top itself. And then look at where it comes up to. Looks like it comes right about to the brow line. So that's kind of the typical proportion. And I forgot to mention when we were looking at this one, the eyes are in the vertical halfway point of the head. So, and also depending on the angle that you're drawing from, it might be that, it might change that, you know, and that's perfectly fine. Just got to know that. Just take your measurements. You can get through this phase pretty quickly if you want, but I'm just kind of going slow through it to make sure, explain it well enough. It seems to be just about here. So let me get that on the axis. I want to make sure all these things, all these lines are kind of parallel. Some people say that they have to converge according to perspective. You can do that if you want. Then the lips. So the lips, the way you're supposed to do the lips is you're supposed to put the lips at a third from this distance to here. So it's supposed to be kind of like third. And then at that top third is going to be the parting line of the lips. But I always just eyeball it and then stay light. I try to stay light. So right now I'm just trying to draw the top of the lip where I think it is. And then I usually do get it wrong, actually. So I try to stay light and then fix the mistake after the fact. Once I get some of the other features in and I can like easily see my mistake. So I'm guessing this is the parting line of the lips. I like to take these proportions with a grain of salt because you don't want to stay super, like, you have to stay super close to them. You don't have to. if the drawing, you can tell the proportions are gonna be more correct if you stray away from them, then that's what you should do. You should totally stray away from them. So the first step was getting the overall big picture of the head in. The next step was getting these lines in. Step now is kind of to get some more content into the head, onto the face. You're gonna start adding some of the features in. So I like to start off with the eye socket shape kind of here on the far side leading into the nose. And I'm just kind of drawing the silhouette of the nose here. So an important thing is kind of, if you think that your measurement of the nose is too long, you know, now that you're actually drawing the nose and not just guidelines, and you can kind of shorten it up. If you think it's too short, you can start to work with it, because all this stuff is just to get you close. In the ideal world, that'll be perfect the first time, but you know, how many things are perfect the first time that you do in art? So stay light because you want to be able to fix those mistakes that are inevitable. And then come down here. So now I'll get the other the other eye socket in. And I like to measure this distance here. Well, not measure, but just eyeball it, like just mind it, you know. And you kind of want the brows to be on the same axis, you know, you don't want one higher than the other unless that's what their face is doing. And there's like a mad angle from the tip of the eyebrow to the, we call this, to your duct. So you want to try and capture that angle. And then there's also another angle to there. Here you can actually start to drop measurements off things like the tip of the nose to try and see where you think the lips should be ending. So at this point, kind of got enough to get the silhouette of the head in. Talking this far side shape, so I like to get that in whenever I have this distance here, or, you know, the length of the mouth. Once I have that in, and I have where I think the nose is ending, you can work it in. So you can just kind of use your eye and guess this distance from here to here. You can see it's kind of one smooth curve all coming up here. Here to here. And then this seems to be about that distance. And then a really important one is if you measure from where you think the outside corner of the chin is, up, look at where that hits on the nose. It almost looks like it hits about here-ish. So that dot right there, right here, that dot is gonna be where you're gonna aim, kinda. This is gonna come through there, and it's all gotta kinda end there, or so. Is the distance from here to here accurate? You know, you could just ask that in the back of your mind. What do you think? If you think, you know, this could be after the fact. You can ask yourself that question and then say, you know, no. And then you can move it. Because, you know, sometimes you'll get into the shading process even, and then you'll notice that some of those proportions are off. And it's not too late to change it. If it's not too late to change it, go ahead and do that. You know, you don't want your drawing to have bad proportions, so go ahead and fix it. Like I'm noticing now, this whole neck needs to move. The head's gonna get wider. So we've kind of got some of the features somewhat laid in. See, it got the eye socket shapes, got the nose kind of broadly laid in. We've got some of the mouth laid in. Try and take a horizontal line off the ear. I think the eye will be around here-ish. To me, it came to the top of the eye. So that's just kind of ghosting in that horizontal line. You're gonna do the same thing with the bottom of the nose. Sorry, with the bottom of the ear, which lined up with the bottom of the nose. So it's good to just try and take a step back, look at it, and just ask, does this kind of look like the person you're drawing? Hopefully it does. If not, then it's not going to look any more like them when you start shading. It'll look a little bit more like them when you start shading, but you know, you want it to look as good as it can at this stage. So, common advice for the eyes is that the eyes are, so we're looking at the right eye, or the eye on the right side of the page, is going to be a straight shot vertical from the outside of the wing of the nostril. So it seems to be about here-ish. And then you're just going to try and guess where you think the eye ends. People kind of think of the eye as it's like this, with, you know, lashes going off, kind of like that. The anatomy of the eye is that there's thickness to the lids. It kind of combines with the shape of the iris, or whatever you call the actual darker part of the eye, where it separates from the lighter part, from the sclera. Sclera, however you pronounce it. So here we're showing the thickness of it, and eventually the eye, the eyeball is going to end, and it's going to kind of wrap into itself before the edge, and it gets darker in here because the white of the eye is done. The more you show the thickness of the eye, the better, and the more you show kind of that eyeball ending here and ending here, because that's tear duct, the more you show that, the better the eye is going to look. And that's kind of an eye, just graphically put in. If you want to, you can kind of draw in the highlight, just so that you don't go over that when you're shading. Make sure that you line up everything. Wrap around the eyeball, as well as the, you know, the iris, like all that. It's gonna kind of wrap around it. It's gonna come off back as it inserts back into the skull, back into the skull. That you don't want to like overdraw this. See, I didn't really add too many lines at the bottom. Kind of want to suggest that, because the sclera is light, the skin's kind of light, they kind of blend together. It's almost like a lost edge. So the nose, you can move on to the nose now. You kind of got the eyes laid in. The nose, the way I do the nose is, this is kind of the Stan Prokopenko way. I really like his method. He's just an artist on YouTube also. Stan Proko, P-R-O-K-O. He's got really awesome stuff. You kind of separate the nose into a front-facing surface and a down-facing surface. So you kind of just guess where you think the nose transitions. That's the first step. And you want to make sure you kind of know where the center is. So this is kind of the center here of the top part. And then this is the center of the bottom part. There's kind of the ball of the nose, so it's going to extend. There's a part that's going to extend past the front edge. It's going to go down. So that's kind of what I drew there. And it kind of works its way around. And the front edge of that kind of is what makes the septum of the nose. And then what it does is it kind of curves back in. It's going to want to curve back in, up into the nose. There's different ways to draw that part. I like to just follow the value of it. Try to make a pleasing shape. But you see, you kind of end up drawing like a little bit of a blocky nose that you can later on just kind of tighten it up, get smooth edges to it. Once you know the structure is right, go back in. Make sure the shapes look nice. The mouth is more like it protrudes, so it actually comes off that center line. So the center of the lips are going to be maybe closer to here. And you know, depending on the person, it's going to be more protruding or less protruding. When it comes to drawing the lips, I've got like a way that I saw someone show me. His name is Brian Knox. He calls it Cupid's bow. He calls the lips shaped like Cupid's bow. It's more apparent if you're drawing the lips from like a straight on view, but you kind of, if you imagine this top lip, I guess I'll show it off to the side. You kind of put an arc across, and you got these two handles. This is just like the lip in a front view. Then you've got this part here. You know, then the lip has a dip in the center. Then you've got sort of this dip here in the center along with it. It tends to drop off here. It drops off. And then it comes through, and then you've kind of got the nodes where all those muscles connect. This is the lower lip, and then you've kind of got whatnot, you know, kind of the muscles underneath the lips. And that's kind of like the averaged lip shape, you know. We can kind of ask ourselves if we think this lip is in the right spot. Especially when we start shading, you'll be able to tell. What there really is there's like a big muscle that wraps around like here. It's just not going to be that apparent on her. You know, she's kind of got like nice skin, you know. Younger people, especially younger women, are gonna you're not really gonna be able to see the muscles of the face too easily. At this point, you kind of got all the tough stuff laid in. You could start just erasing guidelines and just darkening things up. I hope you enjoyed the lay-in phase. This is the final lay-in step of the process, and I'm gonna do another video where I show you how to shade these drawings, but for now I'm just gonna put up a kind of a sped up version of that, just a time lapse so you can see what's to come. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.